Welcome back. Today, I would like to deviate away from my very typical aviation news recaps where I take a look at 3 stories and combine them into one video and head back to my more traditional coverage on just one said news topic. And Boeing has re-entered headlines, and I'm sure most of you, just by me saying that, are grabbing the sides of your chairs or reaching for a table to stabilize yourself. And it's been a pretty busy 24 hours, with updates surrounding Dave Calhoun, the current but also outgoing CEO. Let's begin with a pretty big decision being voted for by Boeing shareholders, and that is to approve the payout to their outgoing CEO worth almost USD 33 million, yes, you heard me correctly, at its annual general meeting or AGM. Payment packages such as these aren't uncommon for outgoing executives. However, the significant sum has been largely criticized by onlookers due to the turmoil in which Calhoun leaves Boeing in, which isn't necessarily great. 2024 was earmarked as a very important year for the manufacturer to continue stabilizing its operation. In theory, if Boeing could have had a smooth year, it would have been even further on the pathway to recovery. Maybe throw in a couple of aircraft certifications, and it would have been classed as a fantastic year. But 1 week into that year, a 737 MAX experienced a door blowout incident that resulted in further issues being found on more aircraft, a worst possible scenario. Following these further issues being identified as loose bolts, the manufacturer was once more placed under mounting pressure, and following groundings, losses, audits, and formal investigations, all combining, Dave Calhoun would be among several executives announced to be leaving Boeing as part of wholesale changes in the last couple of months. The changes that I do speak of were deemed as important for the company to instill a revised safety culture that frankly hasn't been present, but now onto that controversial package. As part of compensation package, Calhoun sees USD 1.4 million in salary and stock awards worth USD 30 million. Despite strong pushback from many on the decision to move forward with the package for the outgoing executive, several members have backed their decision. These members also cited that the amount is a revised total that isn't as high as what could have been following an overhaul and obviously what has happened, but to you and me, the amount is still substantial. While attempted justifications exist, most of the public disagrees with this approved package, and I'd love to hear your take down below in the comments. Most argue that the package is a reward for once more contributing to the dismantling of a storied manufacturer, and then exiting at an optimal time before the hard yards truly commence. Additional decisions such as Calhoun being re-elected, which I'll get into, has raised alarm bells, and according to many, it's a manufacturer that currently can't get much right. All this also comes following fresh concerns from the Department of Justice regarding a potential decision being analysed to prosecute Boeing over crashes in 2018 and 2019, following the determining of a deal that was breached. Those who approved the package I speak of argue that despite how 2024 has played out, Calhoun was instrumental in navigating Boeing through the global pandemic, which of course presented the manufacturer with some of its toughest challenges since establishment and came only a year after those 737 MAX jets went down. For Boeing, Dave Calhoun, and others internally, the remainder of 2024 is expected to be very important to secure the long-term future. We know that they need to source a replacement, essentially Calhoun's successor, and this search is touted as a tough one, but one that needs to be done. The person who takes over will have the task of not just turning around the manufacturer's fortunes for the first time, but really looking at making it a leader once more in the aviation industry and just generally America. But the news doesn't stop in this bit of a Dave Calhoun special, with Boeing's outgoing CEO staying as part of the company following a re-election. Following a shareholders vote, Calhoun will stay on the manufacturer's board as part of a re-election. He won't own the role of CEO, but it was a decision that came at Boeing's annual general meeting alongside the approval for the payment package, and it's been, as you'd expect, also criticised. Since taking on the role of the CEO, Calhoun has faced pressures from pretty much all angles. Many had also rested their hopes on him being the one to turn around the company's fortunes, which took a pretty hefty beating in the latter stages of the 2010s. However, the pressures mounted when a door blowout incident occurred at the top of the 2024 calendar year, like I touched on, and then further problems became evident, really posing the question of had anything changed since he came in. Facing pressure, Dave Calhoun will depart by the end of the year, and following this annual general meeting, Calhoun will remain on the board. Despite several recommendations stating that this would not be the best option, it was voted that it would. Onlookers argue that a decision such as this basically rewards poor culture, poor work ethic, and a structure for a business that simply didn't prioritize safety throughout a tenure. According to many, the prioritization of safety was also made clear as one of the biggest focal points when he assumed the important position of the head of Boeing, but it's clear to see that didn't really work out. Ultimately, that shareholder support is really the key catalyst in allowing Calhoun to remain a board member of the American plane maker. He was first appointed on the board in 2009 and took on the role of CEO in 2020, so he's always been around the manufacturer. The re-election also comes at a critical time for Boeing as it nears the end of its 90-day period to provide the Federal Aviation Administration with a plan for how production and key safety methods are going to be applied for the greater good. The FAA had previously told Boeing that they would be unable to increase production until this turnaround plan had been submitted and basically approved to a satisfactory standard. Pretty much like an exam. You've got to finish it before you can move on to the next one. As a result of this, the manufacturer's production rates have been capped, and despite these caps, as I've talked about on numerous occasions now, Boeing has not even been able to reach this amount because of the heightened pressure it faces. We've got the FAA on the ground and production facilities taking a look at what's been happening. Then considering your airline customers who are also feeling the effects, with several publicly in the last couple of weeks stating that the losses they're incurring because of associated delays are really impacting them. The FAA believes that if it sits down on the production floor and really takes a look at Boeing's practices, it'll be able to identify the source of the problem, and that is likely on the production floor, even if it is caused by upper management, as evidence suggests. The hope is that Boeing's overall output from this will become more reliable if the FAA can stop it at the source, rather than just fixing a problem on an aircraft and moving on. Boeing's turnaround plan must focus on those elements, and as a result, increasing production now would be deemed as inefficient and obviously put a risk to the manufacturer's ability to really determine what's been going on, fix it, and move forward with a new culture. So it's over to you. There's a lot to unpack. Not only do we have Dave Calhoun being re-elected as a board member at Boeing despite everything, we also have him getting that $33 million package approved. I'd love to hear your take down below in the comments. Thanks a lot for your support here on the channel. Take care, do be safe. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, for a more standardized aviation news recap.
And we'll fly.